Councilman Benson?
Here.
Your button, sir? Nope. Oh, yep, I'm sorry. Councilwoman Carson?
Present.
Thank you. Councilman Teeter?
Here.
Councilman McEldowney?
Here.
Councilwoman Elliott?
Present.
And Councilman Douglas?
Present.
Mr. Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Let the record show that all 8 of us are here this evening. And I'd like to ask the audience to stand for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. And I believe Mr. Teeter has someone he wants you to keep in your prayers.
If you would, please remember thoughts and prayers for the family of Ed Emerson, father-in-law of Alan Trudell, one of our employees who passed Saturday. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now, if the staff would please pass the microphone around and allow the audience to introduce themselves.
David Juarez, Municipal Court Judge.
Thank you.
Bob Dollar.
Nancy Zeiler.
Dominic Moreno, State Representative.
Danny Thomas.
Betty Thomas.
Pam Spratler.
Harvest Thomas.
Dolores Amador.
Andrew Amador, Board of Adjustments.
Gene Leffel, Board of Adjustment.
Joy Bishop.
Guillermo Serna.
Roxanne Davis.
DJ Davis. John Howard, Information Technology.
Paula Baker, Neighborhood Services.
Paul Solano, RTD District K, Director.
Mike Brown, Parks and Recreation.
Walt Williams, Economic Development.
Jacqueline Valdez.
Roy Hayes.
Shannon Zabierski.
Aaron Zavirsky.
Troy Smith, Police Department.
Thank you all for being here. First order of business tonight is to appoint and have the swearing in for council member for Ward 1. City Clerk, do you have the process in which we're going to do this? The ballots?
You have the ballots here, the ballot box is here. After you have voted your ballot, please fold them and deposit them in the ballot box.
Okay.
Once we receive all ballots, Chief Smith and I will then open them together and recite each vote and tally it. And then
Well, I don't know. It doesn't work. It doesn't work because it doesn't Well, it's about 3 years old, I think.
Okay. Jean Leffel. Andrew Amador. Jean Leffel. Andrew Amador. Andrew Amador. Andrew Amador. Andrew Amador. Andrew Amador.
There are 8 of you seated there. We have 8 votes cast. There are 6 votes for Mr. Amador, 2 votes for Mr. Leffel. That would be Mr. Amador will now be your city council person.
Thank you.
I would like to invite Mr. Amador to come forward, and we have Judge Juarez to do the swearing in.
Okay, and I would like to thank Mr. Leffel for putting his name into the hat again to serve the public, and it's appreciated, and we hope that that doesn't discourage you and you continue to pursue service to your community. So thank you, Mr. Leffel. Mr. Amador, come on up.
Okay.
Word prepared. I'm going to need you to speak loudly. We're speaking into this. It's being recorded. And I'd like you to raise your right hand and simply repeat after me. I, Andrew Amador,
I, Andrew Amador,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support the Constitution and the laws of the United States
that I will support the Constitution and the laws of the United States
and of the state of Colorado
and of the state of Colorado
and the charter and ordinances of the city of Commerce City,
and the charter and ordinances of
the city
the city of Commerce City,
and that I will faithfully perform
and that I will faithfully perform
all of the duties
pertaining to the office of Ward 1 council member
of the city of Commerce City
of the city of Commerce City
of the state of Colorado
of the state of Colorado
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Thank you very much. Now, I need you to sign right here above where your signature line is. You're official.
Thank you.
Where do you think your seat's at?
Ooh, there we go. All right, guys. We count of 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Next item on the agenda will be citizens' communication. That was awful loud. What's causing that, Bob? All that reverb? I will turn it down. All right. I want to remind everybody that you'll be allowed 3 minutes to come up and talk to the council. Please direct your questions to the council as a body. And I'm going to start off. And when I call your name, come up, state your name and address for the record. Aaron Zabisky? Zabisky. Thank you.
My name's Aaron Zabisky. My address is 5600 East 72nd Avenue.
Sorry, could I get his name and address one more time for the record, please?
Aaron, Aaron.
Huh?
My last name is Zabirski. Z as in zebra, B as in boy. IERSKI.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Thanks for the time. I'm here on behalf of my neighbor and coworker, Roy Hayes, and his wife, Janice Hayes. They have a Vietnamese potbelly pig that exceeds the 70-pound weight limit on Vietnamese potbelly pigs. And although I don't know that he's had a neighbor complaint, animal control has been working them to get rid of their pet. And he has made a court date, I believe, but I don't know all the particulars. I imagine that 20 years ago, whenever the city had to make an ordinance for an animal like that, it was probably something you had to be a little careful with. I'm sure there'd be some pretty good unintended consequences for if you screw that up. You don't want people with hitching posts and horses in their front yard. But now, Roy and Janice have a pet they've had for 14 years, and it is in excess of the 70-pound limit. And I kind of imagine if there was a 70-pound limit on dogs, you get an animal. We always get shelter animals. You don't know, you don't know what you're getting. You don't know how big it's going to be. And then after you've had the animal for a while, it's in excess of the weight, and that's kind of a problem, kind of puts you in a bad spot. That's exactly where Roy and Janice are at. What was once a legal small potbelly pig is now an illegal big potbelly pig. I don't know how they could have anticipated the problem. 15, 20 years ago, I don't think you could Google or wiki a pig, a Vietnamese potbelly pig, to see what you're really getting yourself into. And I'm not even sure if the ordinance wouldn't encourage people to get in trouble, because if you looked at the ordinance and it said 70 pounds is a potbelly pig, you might think that's kind of what you can expect that they'll weigh. There wouldn't be a lot of sense to making an ordinance saying that pigs heavier than 70 pounds are illegal when you know they're all going to exceed that weight at some point. So anyways, probably that's an ordinance that maybe needs to be reviewed. I can't imagine there's a ton of pigs in this city, but we should probably change the weight limit or outlaw the pigs entirely, except for now that Roy and Janice have this animal. It's been their pet for 14 years. And so the obvious question would be if there's anything that can be done, maybe a one-time exception, just so they don't have to find a way to do something with what to them is just a pet like a dog. And Roy's going to speak too, and I thank you for your time. You guys have a good night.
Thank you. Mr. Hayes.
Can I give you guys these, or?
Yeah, state your name and address for the record first, please, and you can just hand them over here to the city attorney, and he can make sure they get distributed.
My name's Roy Hayes, and I live at 6970 Birch Street. Respected ladies and gentlemen of the City Council of Commerce City, I come before you on the behalf of our family pet, Handsome, better known as Hammy. I'm asking for a variance on the behalf of our beloved household pet, Hammy, an allowable pet, a potbelly pig. We understand that it is the job of each of you to uphold the law of the City of Commerce City. It's been brought to our attention that our Hammy is in violation of the law that has been in place for many years, since 1996. I'm here to acknowledge such a violation and a little background on the history of the animal in question. A potbelly pig is and never was meant to stay at the weight limit that has been imposed by the law. The law reads the pig should stay within the weight limit of 70 pounds or less. However, many domesticated animals, including larger breeds of dogs, exceed this weight limit, not just our potbelly pig, Hammy. I do come before you on this day and ask you not to change your laws that have been written for years, but instead, if you would be willing to take into consideration in giving this particular issue a variance. The lifespan of the domestic pig is 20 to 25 years, and our Hammy is already 14 years old. We have had Hammy for living in our home at the same address since he was 8 weeks old. He is a part of our everyday lives since the last 14 years. Hammy has been there to comfort that only an animal can do during great loss of pain, like such as experienced during loss of a parent or a loved one. Our adult children and their children have shared many secrets with our dearly loved potbelly pig, like many others do with their pets. Granted, most families choose a dog as their pet, but we chose a potbelly pig named Hammy. I pray that you will be willing to give us this issue before you a variance and allow for the family pet to live out the rest of his days with his family, as we know Hammy does not have much time left. When Hammy does pass on, we've agreed as a family we will not own another potbelly pig because we're unable to guarantee that we would be able to keep another potbelly pig within the weight limit of the laws of the city. I thank you on the behalf of every member of my family, including Hammy, for taking time for Hammy and taking time to listen to our suggested outcome of the issue come before each of you. Sincerely, the Hayes family.
Thank you very much for coming in, Mr. Hayes.
Thank you, sir.
I do want to say a few things just so that you understand that I feel sorry about the situation that you're in, first and foremost. And as you heard the judge install the new council member, the fact that we have to uphold the ordinances that are in place. Those ordinances can be changed, but they shouldn't be changed for a particular situation. And when it comes to the system that's in place, the fact that you have a court date and the judge is going to hear your testimony, that's the judicial side of our system. And right now, the situation's in the judge's hands. We can't just say, okay, guess what, there's a court date, we can change the ordinance and do a variance. And so it puts us in a position. The other thing I'd like to mention is that there are some of your neighbors that have been calling me regularly, and I know my former mayor pro tem, and really pushing, you need to do something about this pig. And I've looked into it, and I understand what the problem is. The problem never was the pig. The problem never was the dog. There's a neighborhood problem. And I would encourage you, just as I've told them, to really look at some mediation that may be able to offer some mediation through our police department to help with some of the neighborhood problems, because I want you folks as residents in your neighborhood to be able to work with each other, and I don't want anybody working against you as a neighbor or you working against them as a neighbor. And I'm not taking sides in the situation. I'm just saying the underlying problem here never was the pig, in my opinion. The underlying problem here is a neighborhood concern, a neighborhood issue, and I'm not taking a side. I'm just saying I'd like to see that fixed so that you and your family can live comfortably in your neighborhood as well as the rest of the neighbors. And I'm offering the city services by asking the police department to provide you and your neighbors some mediation, because unfortunately it's the pig that's suffering in this situation, and you as owners of the pig that are going to suffer in this situation. So I feel sorry for you, and I feel sorry for your family about what is going on. But as the mayor of this community, the ordinances are the ordinances until they're changed, and we can't change them immediately because of one particular situation. If this was brought to us last year before there was a pig issue, we could have looked at it. Whether this council would have changed that or not, I can't tell you. But what I would implore you to do is to go in and talk to the judge and explain your concerns to the judge. He's the one that will be setting forth any type of retribution that will have to be taken into consideration. So it won't be this council tonight, but I do appreciate you coming in, and good luck with the situation in the court process, because it's not a city council process at this time.
Thank you, sir.
Okay? Thank you very much. Jacqueline Valdez? Is that right? Oh, I didn't see your name on there. Mr. Benson, just one second. Ms. Valdez. Mr. Benson?
Mr. Mayor, I agree with what you said. I think it's a matter for mediation between neighbors. That certainly is the best way to get it resolved. I'm just wondering, Has this pig ever caused any harm to anybody, or is its only violation gaining too much weight?
You can come back up here, Mr. Hayes, since the question is being addressed to you.
No, he's never caused any harm. He's just overweight, and he's, like I said, he lives in the house. He goes out in the morning and goes to the bathroom, and he stays in the house all day.
He's never bitten anybody or
Oh, no.
caused a problem?
No, I mean, I've get in that thing, and there's, my grandkids are sitting right there with him. I mean, he's just a big, lovable baby is all he is.
Okay. Well, thank you. But I would encourage you to do exactly what the mayor said and
Yes, sir.
mediate the matter between neighbors.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Now, Ms. Valdez, please come forward. State your name and address for the record.
Councilman, Jacqueline Valdez, 6796 Albion Street, Commerce City, Colorado, 822.
Go ahead, Ms. Valdez, it's okay.
The reason that I'm here this evening is to kind of get some guidance on what to do concerning a sidewalk issue. We had applied for a permit to build a garage. We have followed through with everything that they have permitted us to do and asked of us. We have come across a problem where we had financially ran out of funds, so we've been kind of waiting this year till tax time. We got an extension to build the garage. We went to Public Works to ask for some assistance with the financial part of the sidewalk, the curb and gutter cuts that needs to be made and the ones that need to be filled in, because there was an existing garage. The plan was to close in the existing garage and make a master bedroom and bath and then build the new garage. When we had discussed this with them, they told us to come back when we were ready to do this, in hopes that we would be able to get the city to come into an agreement to help us financially with the situation. There's prior damage to the sidewalk. We've done everything that we can. We're right on the corner, so we've had a lot of water standing. We've had a lot of problems with the drainage there because we're right on the corner, and there's like a dip on 68 there, so all the water just comes rushing to the two properties that are on the end of each side, which is our property and then the neighbor's property. When we had asked them about this, they said, well, they had already had the agenda and the financial had already been set for last year and had already been distributed out. They said to come this year. So we went in last week and we were told that they were not going to have a financial amount set for this year. When my husband had discussed it with the inspector for Public Works, he proceeded to tell my husband that we cannot continue with the building of the garage until we had completed the sidewalk. When I went over to the permit department, I spoke with Rick Prosen, and he said that his understanding was the development of the garage was already set forth, was already approved, and that there shouldn't have been an issue with us building the garage, that the sidewalk was a separate issue, and that as long as we completed that issue, there shouldn't have been a problem with getting it done. We did ask for an extension because, again, we had ran out of funds, but at this point, I'm kind of like I didn't know what to do.
Since your time's up, I want to talk to you for a second about it. When it comes to our flat work repair and those things, I can tell you that the council is having the opportunity to look at other CIP, capital improvement project, if we want to put some of the money we have into some capital improvement. We haven't made those total decisions as of yet. If we do apply funds to the concrete and flat work repair for the city, I would tell you that from my perspective is that the situation in front of your house concerning your curb and gutter, and if there's a problem on the city's end, that it would meet the criteria for replacement at this time based off of the city standards. When it comes to the stopping of having to stop your construction and having to do the sidewalk first, I don't know if you've torn out the sidewalk at this point in time, if it's still the original sidewalk and gutters in place, and what the particulars are. What I would tell you, though, is that a situation like this, when you're having frustrations in a particular department, and I don't care which department or who it is or what their problem may be, that the proper thing to do would be able to move up the chain of command, talk with, and this particular person that I would recommend that you talk with is sitting right here, Mr. Jim Hayes. He happens to be the deputy city manager in charge of outside services, so he oversees public works and that department, and he oversees planning and development, who issued you your permit.
Okay.
So I would before this council was put in a position of trying to handle something that really is a staff issue at this point.
Okay.
Mr. Hayes reports to Brian McBroom, the city manager, right beside him, and they're both in the room and hearing what your concerns are. I would recommend that Mr. Hayes contact you personally,
Okay.
take a look at your situation, understand it, and then be able to come back and determine if the sidewalk, curb, and gutter within your area is something of priority because it poses a tripping hazard or a drainage issue that could harm someone else's property, and he can make those decisions at that level. The council is really here to work on legislative issues with the city. The staff with the city manager and the deputy city manager are to handle those day-to-day issues that you guys are faced with now. I know that he'll be in contact with you, and I wish you luck on your situation, and I wish that you were able to take care of it all at one time, but really, Mr. Hayes and Mr. McBroom will do the follow-up and make sure you're taken care of.
Okay.
Thank you very
sir.
much for coming in.
Thank you.
Mr. Davis.
DJ.
I'm DJ Davis, 17036 East 106th Avenue, Commerce City, 80022.
Welcome.
Mr. Mayor, esteemed members of council, I'm here tonight to discuss briefly two issues. The first one, the new bus service 104X. I realize it takes a decent amount of time for staff to research options and opportunities such as this and develop recommendations. And first off, my hat's off to the staff effort for doing that heavy lifting. Second, I'd like to thank the council for accepting the recommendation and working with City of Denver, RTD, whoever it was, to bring to life this wonderful new service in the north end of Commerce City. Thank you very much. I was one of the inaugural riders on January 7th, and I've in the space of a short month, I've already made it a part of my daily existence and lifestyle. It's very much appreciated. Second topic regards you, Mr. Mayor. I understand that you're taking additional time out of a no doubt already very busy schedule to be a part of the conversation with the City of Denver and Adams County on the airport city and the IGA that was put together almost, 30 years ago? Again, very much appreciative for you being willing to do that. I would urge you to make sure that the settlement or the decisions made is equitable to all parties involved. There's plenty of opportunity out here. There's no reason for Denver to get piggy about it. Thank you.
Al, I have a couple comments for you. I really appreciate you coming in. and recognizing the efforts that the council makes. I do feel it's part of my duties, and one of the things that is going on right now with the Airport Cities situation is there's what's called the Airport Coordinating Committee, which exists of about 6 different entities that bought into the original IGA when that airport was built. Now, at the IGA allows for a consultation committee to be formed out of that DIA committee. And that consultation committee is 3 members, myself, Commissioner Chaz Tedesco, and Mayor Hogan from Aurora. And we feel that Commerce City and Aurora and Adams County would receive the most impact if that IGA were to be violated without some offsetting needs for our community. And just in short, if development occurs inside the fence, it reduces our ability to develop outside the fence. And I've got to look after the best interest of the residents of my community. So therefore, right now, we are upholding the IGA, and we are at really the end of where our discussions can go. And we'll be meeting with Denver. They'll have 3 members to our 3 members allowed by the IGA to meet and discuss concerns about land use in and around the airport. And I am very hopeful that we can come to some agreements that are beneficial to all of the residents of the metro area. But my first and foremost responsibility is to the residents of Commerce City. And that includes concerns about getting our on-ramp in place on Tower Road in Pena, making sure that we have the proper infrastructure, making sure that we can continue moving forward with economic development without having competition that was alleviated by the IGA. So I'll be continuing to work in that capacity, and I'm sure that there will be a lot of different stories coming out in the Post and on the news following these meetings, and we're hoping that the 13th we can come to agreement.
Best of luck in your representing our best interests, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day. It wasn't there. I've got Mr. Douglas on here. Mr. Benson, go ahead. Sure, Mr. Davis.
For Mr. Davis.
Mr. Davis, one of the council members has a question. If you wouldn't mind coming back up, please. Good.
And you're my guy, let me tell you that, too.
You're his guy. Go right ahead, Mr. Benson.
Anyway,
Yes,
are
sir.
you riding that bus on a regular basis?
Between 3 and 5 days a week, yes, sir.
And how many other people are riding it when you're on it?
When it first got started, I was using either the 645 approximate or 715 bus. The 645 was the one that garnered most of the business, most of the ridership early on, and it continues. That bus continues to grow. It isn't. There's not 2 people sitting on every seat now, but there's certainly at least 1 on every seat. So it's gained ridership very quickly. The 715 continues to be. Going into town continues to be a little less, more lightly ridden, mostly because I think once folks get down there, there's not a lot of time to get anywhere downtown by an 8 o'clock start date for work, start time. Coming home in the evening, I'm pretty sure that the 545 bus is the most popular, 547. Mostly because folks, you need a little bit of time to get out of a 5 o'clock gig and get to a Market Street station. I'm taking the 515 or the 547. There's typically between 5 and 10 people on that bus, or either one of those buses, most evenings.
Well, please encourage people to ride that bus because it's a 3-year experiment. And if there's not enough ridership, that bus is not going to be there after 3 years. We got a grant through the Denver Regional Council of Governments for $444,000 that we had to pay to the RTD to get that route established. So we need to have as many people riding it as possible. So see what you can do to...
What's the break-even point, if you have any idea on ridership?
I don't know. I should probably call and find out, though.
Well, you know what? The next person on our list is from RTD, so we'll see.
Oh, okay, great.
I'll keep banging the drum, Mr. Benson. Thank you.
Okay, good.
Before you leave, I have Mr. Douglas.
Thank you, Mr. Davis, for coming up and speaking out for the bus line.
You're very welcome, Mr. Douglas.
Thank you. I know you and I spoke about that, and thank you for coming in tonight. I encourage all citizens to, they have something good or things on our mind that the city needs to know to come to regular meetings and speak out in citizens' communication. So I appreciate that.
Thanks for having me.
Have a nice day. Thank you. Next, I'll call Mr. Solano. Glad to have you here this evening, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. It's a pleasure to be back, Mayor and Council. I'm the newly elected Director for District K, and I came back, I was
need
here...
you real quick, state your name and address.
I'm sorry, Paul Solano, District K, 6751 East 60th Avenue.
Thank you.
Commerce City resident since 1955. I'm your newly elected RTD representative, District K. And I'm here to give you my card and open up communications, which is crucial. It's good to hear news about 104X. That's really important, and it's true. 3 years we got to get Commerce City riders moving on this, and that's just one goal that's in motion, but there's other goals that I have in mind for Commerce City. I'm a Commerce City resident. Commerce City is dear to my heart. But if I could approach the bench or the staff with my
Yeah, you
card.
just hand it here to the attorney. He can make sure he brings them up to us.
Okay. And you have any specific issues that should be addressed to me? You have my card, and the lines are open.
Well, and I think right now, for Commerce City, some very important RTD issues are coming forward with our light rail station at 72nd and Colorado Boulevard.
Correct.
We know that project's been moved up. We know that we have a shorter time period to start working on what those improvements need to be to get people in and out of that area.
Correct.
So we will be working closer with RTD, as well as some of the concerns that I've had talking with the previous District K administrator was more ridership in certain areas of the city and the need that our residents have to be able to get around. And being from Commerce City, I look forward to the opportunity to sit down with you and talk about some of those concerns from a city perspective that some of our residents don't have the opportunity to get to places. One of those places being right here at City Hall. We have some handicapped folks that used to come to every council meeting. They haven't been able to come since we moved the building out here because there's no access. So whether it's through a local type of commuter bus or whether it's more different type of bus services. But there's things that we need to talk about.
Sure.
And I really applaud you for coming in this evening and addressing the council.
Well, thank you. And one of the things I talked to, we had a town hall last week here, and Congressman Perlmutter was there, and a couple of representatives from the State House. Mr. Moreno was there, and Senator Ulibarri. And one of the things I discussed that was big on my agenda was what you just said. We need more availability down Quebec to Brighton, to the courthouse, and all the vital areas where a big section of our population do business and conduct their affairs. And I'm certainly going to work on that. And I'm one of 15 on the board.
Sure.
So, I'm going to do the best I can for my area. And, I represent Commerce City, Brighton, Adams County in general, and part of Weld County. So, it's a big job, and I plan to work hard at it. So.
Well, and, talking about the service to the courthouse, that's probably the biggest complaint that I get is from the park and ride. There's a 7:05 or something bus that leaves there. There's not another one until 5-something in the evening.
I'm definitely going to address that.
And, there's a lot of folks that show up there and they go, when's the next bus? I've got to get to the courthouse. And, I'm doing court. So I know to make things easier on our residents, there's things that we need to look at.
Well, good.
But
Thanks.
I truly appreciate you coming in this evening.
Thank you for your time.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Next, Mr. Cerna.
Guillermo Serna, 14122 East 102nd Place, Commerce City, Colorado.
Good evening.
Good evening. Reason I'm here is, we've been working on economic development, homes and industry, but yet I keep looking right down Quebec and the 800 and some acres that we have there. And given the time, just wondering what is really going to happen there. We were supposed to be, at the time that that agreement was set, there was supposed to be this and there was supposed to be that. And we're still in the same situation. There's still rabbits out there, there's still eagles out there on this side of the fence. And we just keep going by it. And it seems to me like Cronky seems to be standing still. Everywhere else down Quebec, everything's going up. But on the west side of 56, really nothing's happened other than the stadium. On those acres that we were supposed to be developing, somehow, some way. You're the third mayor, that has been involved in this. And we just keep waiting, we just keep waiting, we just keep waiting. I hope that you take the challenge to that development as you've taken it to Denver, because it's the same thing. Denver asked for an inch from the county, and they got a whole airport. And we're still fighting with Denver as to what we were supposed to get out of all of this. And from my perspective is, don't give them any more. Do what you're doing. You don't need to apologize to Denver for nothing, because all they want to do is take and take and take. You've lent them money to do this, you lend them money to do that, and all they do is cry as to how they're being treated. Well, keep doing it, because you give them an inch, they'll take another airport. And my perspective is you're doing a good job, but I think that you got to push Cronky somewhere along the line as to how this area is going to be developed. We're losing tax money on that, in perspective. And somehow, some way, just do something with it. And I know that you have your plate full, but they should be pushed, because they owe it to this community. They wouldn't have that stadium there if it wasn't for this community that fought to clean up the arsenal. Thank you.
Before you leave, Mr. Cerna, I want to let you know that the original 915 acres that was deleted while I was in office years ago is still very, very much an opportunity for this community. And when it comes to economic development, we can do everything we want to encourage people, and we continue to do that. And I expect to see some development on this property within the next 2 years. And I want to tell you something else that's important to the situation. As part of that stadium agreement, Cronky Sports got the development rights of the property around it. But there was a time limit. That time limit is coming up, October 2014. At that time, that development rights to the property around the stadium and everything around City Hall here revert back to the city. Saying that, I know that it puts Cronky Sports in a position that they need to get some development out here on this 918 acres so that they meet the responsibility of their agreement. Otherwise, we'll do it for them after 2014 October. However, right now, we are working closely with Cronky Sports on many different opportunities that are before us to come out onto this property. And I would like nothing more than to see them meet their end of the bargain and for us to participate with them to get services that our residents deserve in this part of our community, whether it be restaurants, hotel, convention, big box retail. Those are the things I want from my community. They're the things I've always wanted from my community, and they're the things that I'll continue to fight for this community. But I have to get the stores to understand that if they open up here, they're going to be busy. They're not taking a risk. They're really going to win when they locate here. So I'm on your side of this, and we'll keep you posted. And we do have a new economic development director, Walt Williams, and I can assure you that he will be doing some economic development updates for our community in the near future.
I just wish that you also have the plans in case Cronky decides he doesn't want to do anything, so that you can move on them right away.
Absolutely. Mr. Douglas, are your lights lit up? Absolutely.
Sorry, I asked him before.
Were you wanting to speak, Mr. Douglas?
No, it's from before, I'm sorry.
Okay. Mr. McEldowney?
I would just add that I don't know how widely it's known, but we do have a jointly developed plan. When we renamed the property from Prairie Gateway to Victory Crossing, a part of that effort was to work very closely with the realty brokerage firm that Cronky brought on board, his real estate team, and our economic development and planning team at the time to build a definitive plan for the development of that site. If that's something that you'd like to see to get a sense of what that plan looks like in terms of how the uses have been envisioned for the different areas that make up that total parcel, it's exciting, and we share the frustration in terms of wanting to see movement on that sooner than later. It's an exceptional opportunity, and one of the things that was lacking prior to that plan being put in place was a plan, and so it was difficult for Cronky or the city to be able to actively champion any effort on that front. So having that in place puts a clear picture out there, and I believe, Mr. Mayor, you were at ICSC this last session, and obviously having that in hand at ICSC, that was the first year that we had that document for the ICSC retail conference discussions to give folks a sense of what opportunities were really available in terms of locations, zoned and planned for what uses. So should the agreement dissolve, that plan is in our hands. But we share the sense of urgency and frustration.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now we'll move on into the next portion of our agenda. Yes, sir? No, it was not on. I had Mr. Douglas, your name was not up here. It's on here now, but it was not, Mr. Benson.
Question for Mr. Cerna. Maybe not a question, but I wonder if everybody understands what that overall agreement says, and that Cronky has a lot of money, and correct me if these figures are wrong, about $80 million invested in that property. And the only way that they get paid back is through the sales taxes on things that are developed on that property. And I don't know why they haven't done something by this time, because that's the only way they're going to get paid back. So, and after 25 years, which would be about another 20 years now, the property is going to become the property of the city, and they're not going to get anything off of it. So I don't know. I don't understand myself why Cronky has been so late in trying to get something done. I hope that before October 25th, they choose to do a lot out there, because it's going to help everything. Thank you.
You're welcome. And I just want to let you know, I'm not intentionally ignoring you.
I know you.
I would let you know if I was ignoring you intentionally.
I know, but
you're
not.
I'm glad that you're speaking up and getting my attention, because your light was not lit up.
You're not Paul Natal, and I know that you're not specifically ignoring me. Thank you.
Enough said. Let's move on to the next item on the agenda, is the approval of the minutes. First thing I need is a motion to excuse Mr. Amador from voting on the minutes, as he was not seated for the January 7th meeting. Mr. McEldowney.
Move to exempt Mr. Amador from the vote on the minutes.
Mr. Bullock.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to allow for the abstention. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion's carried. Now we'll take up the motion to handle the minutes of the 7th meeting. Mr. Teeter.
I move to approve the minutes of January 7th, 2013.
Thank you. Mr. McEldowney.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the January 7th council meeting. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. The minutes are taken care of. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. There are 4 items on the consent agenda this evening. Any member of council may request to pull an item off the consent agenda for separate discussion and/or vote. Is there any council members that have an issue or would like to pull any of the consent items off the agenda? Mr. Bullock?
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Mr. McEldowney?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to...
Sir,
Yes.
before you do that, you need to take a motion to allow
The abstention.
Mr. Amador
The
to...
abstention.
Okay. I will do that.
Let's go. Mr. McEldowney?
Would move to allow Mr. Amador to not vote on this matter.
Okay, Mr. Bullock?
Second that.
A motion and a second to allow the abstention. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion's carried. Now, you want me to redo the motion and the second on the consent agenda?
Please.
Okay. Mr. Bullock?
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Thank you. Mr. McEldowney?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Will the attorney please read the titles?
Title of Ordinance 1944 reads as follows: An ordinance amending the 2013 budget of the City of Commerce City, Colorado by the recognition of the Sand Creek Regional Greenway Partnership Agreement in the amount of $100,000 for the creation of the Southern Link Plan and the O'Brien Canal Trail Plan and the authorization of the expenditure thereof. Title of Ordinance 1945 reads as follows: An ordinance amending the 2013 budget of the City of Commerce City, Colorado by the recognition of the RTD bus route grant funds in the amount of $444,000 for the support of a North Area Express bus route and the authorization of the expenditure thereof. Next, title of Ordinance 1946 reads as follows: An ordinance amending the 2013 budget of the City of Commerce City, Colorado by the recognition of Adams County Open Space Grant Funds in the amount of $440,000 for the support of the future Second Creek Community Park Acquisition Project and the authorization of the expenditure thereof. Title of Resolution 2013-01, a resolution approving an amendment to the agreement among Adams County, City of Broomfield, and the municipalities of Brighton, Commerce City, Federal Heights, North Glen, Thornton, and Westminster to establish the North Metro Task Force as a legal entity. That's the consent agenda, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. I'll ask for a roll call vote at this time.
Moment. May begin. No.
Let the record show that it's passed unanimously, 8-0. Now we go to ordinances on first reading. Ordinance on first reading, we start with Ordinance 1949, which is an ordinance amending the 2000 budget to take care of State of Colorado illegal waste tire cleanup grant funds for cleaning up some tires. Is there a staff person that wants to give us a short update on this so that the council is aware of everything? Good evening.
I'm Paula Baker, Supervisor with Neighborhood Services. I worked on this grant. The victim was Cricket Mascarenas. She resides at 10,000 Havana Street in Henderson, Colorado. She was a victim of a tire dumping. The first one was September 2011. The second one occurred in November 2011 with the total amount, of 700 tires that were illegally dumped on her property. We have an application process through the Colorado Waste Tire Grant Program, and the way this process started is the resident had to fill out the application. It was then sent back to Neighborhood Services. From there, I worked directly with the director, Brian Garbario, which is with the state of Colorado. This process took about 6 months. I had to send out an RFP, got 27 bids. It came down to a final of 2. And after the process on this, we were finally pre-approved and actually had the program completed on December 26th. The amount, the program allows you $5,000. I was able to get this completed for $1,490. And it took them about 2.5 hours to get all the tires removed. It went to a facility down in Colorado Springs, which is a state-approved tire recycling. One of the problems that we have, I really would say be a problem, but the landfills no longer accept tires, so it's really difficult for residents in our community to dispose of tires. It used to be in the past that you could put 2 tires out at the curbside and they were taken care of. So because of the amount of tires that were illegally dumped and because of the financial situation with Ms. Mascarenas, This program was a great opportunity for her as well as the city, and I feel like by doing this ordinance with the state, it has developed a really good partnership, and we have this program available in the event that this would occur for any business or resident in the city of Commerce City.
Great, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
I'm glad it worked out. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to address council on this ordinance? Okay, I'll ask for a motion. Mr. Bullock.
Move to approve ordinance 1949, council, on first reading.
Mr. McEldowney?
Second.
A motion and a second to approve the ordinance on first reading. Is there any discussion? Seeing none.
Title, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, please.
An ordinance amending the 2013 budget of the City of Commerce City, Colorado by the recognition of the State of Colorado illegal waste tire cleanup grant funds in the amount of $1,490 for the cleanup of waste tires located at 10,000 Havana Street in Commerce City and the authorization of the expenditure thereof.
Thank you. I'll ask for a roll call vote. Mr. Amador, if you need help, just ask Mr. Benson. He'll show you how to take care of that. It's pretty self-explanatory. Push the button you want.
He's got it.
All right. Let the record show that the ordinance is introduced on first reading unanimously by the council, 9-0 vote. Next item on the agenda is ordinance 1950 for introduction. Does anyone on the council have any questions for staff regarding this ordinance? Mr. Bullock?
Moved, I'm ready to.
Does anybody have any questions? Okay, then let me see, is there anyone in the audience who would like to address the council concerning this ordinance? Seeing no one, I'm open for a motion. Mr. McEldowney.
Would move to approve ordinance 1950, or introduce rather, 1950. Council is seated.
Mr. Bullock.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Will Mr. Attorney please read the title?
Title reads, an ordinance amending the 2013 budget of the City of Commerce City, Colorado by the recognition of the Vail Grant in the amount of $3,453 for the support of the Community Justice Program and the authorization of the expenditure thereof.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll ask for a roll call vote. Let the record show that the ordinance is introduced unanimously with the 9-0 vote. Next item on the agenda is a presentation from Mr. Juarez. Judge Juarez, please come forward and make your presentation. Good to have you here this evening.
Good morning, and I apologize for rushing out of here earlier, but whenever I hear a matter that could potentially appear in front of me, I have no choice but to make sure that I don't hear it. So I apologize for just running out of here earlier.
No problem.
All right. Did the City Council receive a copy of the packet that I prepared?
Yes, we did.
Okay. I'm not going to take too long on this. The reason you got both a 2011 and a 2012 packet was because we found some discrepancies in the preparation of the 2011 annual report, and so we figured out what caused them, made the corrections, and so this one differs slightly from the one that you received during the State of the Court address last year. But again, the most critical information, obviously, is the 2012 report. As you can see, traffic citations were down dramatically. In response to that, we've eliminated a number of court days for the 2013 calendar. We'll review it each quarter and determine whether or not we need to add them back if the number of traffic citation increases or if we need to trim more court dates. Obviously, no sense having the city prosecutor and myself sitting here doing nothing. We try to keep a full docket on all of the court days. And Mr. Amador, the court days are every Wednesday and Thursday here. It's 2 days a week. You're more than welcome to come in and attend and watch a session of court. It can be rather entertaining, if nothing else. The variety of cases that we have come to, even after being a judge here for 9 years, some of the cases just continue to catch me by surprise. Open for any questions if you want now, or we can wait till the end with regard to the contents of the report. Most of you have seen them before.
Council, have any questions prior to the report? Mr. McEldowney?
Thank you very much, Judge, for coming before us tonight. I appreciate your updates each time that you're here. I just wondered if you might have any anecdotal comments on, I know you've obviously talked about the variety of cases that come before you, but I know in the past you've also talked about your particular focus on youth and efforts to help that community specifically. Any anecdotal comments on sort of efforts in that area or successes in terms of goals that you may have set and been looking to attack here in the last year?
I can tell you that in the recent past, the most serious change that we made was providing a 3 o'clock Thursday afternoon juvenile docket. It's devoted entirely to juveniles. When we had them mixed in with the regular afternoon docket, our participation rate was probably 40 to 50%. A lot of parents don't want to take their kids out. We would have to have multiple settings to try to impress upon them that the parents had to bring the children into court. And a lot of children would show up without parents because they would end up having to miss a lot of work. Our 3 o'clock on Thursday afternoon docket, our participation rate's got to be close to 90%. Wow. It has really been an effective tool to create that docket. And we're not going to eliminate it. It is still probably our best docket. That and, to be quite blunt, I lecture kids like I would not lecture adults, and to have a room full of the kids here is better than delivering the same type of lecture with a room full of adults. It becomes challenging at a minimum when you have a room full of adults listening to somebody try to lecture teenagers and how to comport themselves. The programs that we have, again, one of the reports that I included in there, just to give you an idea, is the ISAE package. It shows the programs that we have available. I can tell you that really, with the amount of marijuana information that's been in the news, I've seen a serious uptick in the amount of marijuana use. I've also seen a serious downtick in the amount of juveniles that are taking the opportunity to participate in our diversion program. We generally ran about 70%, 65% successfully completed the drug and alcohol class to result in having their original simple possession charge dismissed. It's actually down to about 50% now. We refer approximately 150 kids to the diversion program. That's first-time offenders, minor possession of marijuana, unlawful possession of alcohol by an underage person. And we were getting about 70 successfully completing that. Now it's running a little bit lower than that. It's not a success story. It's just something that we're paying particular attention to. I've been getting some pretty good cooperation from the school resource officers to try to emphasize what this does to a juvenile to have drug and alcohol possession type information in their records, and how that it can affect their college applications or any applications for higher education. So we've been getting some pretty good information out there. It's, again, statistics. We'll see how it works over time.
Thank you very much for that. Appreciate all of your efforts.
One of the council people, specifically Ms. Carson, asked for information regarding the team court program. We provided that report for you so that you can get an idea of the type of participation we're getting from the police department. They've been excellent. They've been driving this program. My court staff provides support. We have local attorneys in the area that have been helping out with this. A couple of my court-appointed attorneys just do it. Since they're here, they stick around and take care of it. The type of donations, it's been a very good, what I call, supported community effort in terms of the involvement in our team court program. And obviously, we think that is a success. We found that it has a better success rate amongst the middle school kids, and so we are tracking their ages, their schools. We're trying to keep more statistics about it, and then obviously we keep track of them if they later do something bad and come back in front of us. But it also is a good sentencing alternative. Rather than send a kid out to do community service, I order them to participate in the team court program, and some of those kids have continued voluntarily, for a number of sessions. We have them do 1 or 2 sessions, and they come back, do 6, 7, or 8 sessions with us. So it's kind of worked out for us. We think it's a positive program that we've been able to develop. And if there is any additional information that isn't in that report that you would want, please just let us know. age, school, that type of stuff is the type of thing that we keep track of. It just helps us plan better for the future. A couple of the school resource officers, specifically Mike Vasquez, brought to me some anti-fighting programs that they were involved in. I appreciated that they included me in their discussions, asked me for anything I thought that might be supportive. Now, keep in mind, I can't deal with any specific perpetrators or specific instances. I can only provide general policy advice, alternatives in terms of diversion-type options. Diversion means basically give them a chance to do something that keeps them from having a case filed or from having a conviction entered. We try to divert them to other sources, other classes, other resources to keep their records clear and obviously to rehabilitate them before they have any type of permanent conviction on their records and obviously the other results that come with that. The daytime curfew rules, they came in and asked me about it, and at first I was opposed. I could see some problems with it. I got supportive behind it, and I understand the City Council weighed that issue. But the fact that they're thinking proactively in terms of how to improve enforcement, patrol, keep the juveniles in school, not necessarily having to turn everything over to a truancy program. I give the officers credit for trying to come up with some alternatives. And also, I think that was really beneficial for my prosecutor and I to sit down with them and talk about what their goals were for that type of thing. We're always looking for alternatives to try to cut down on youth-related crime and also to keep the kids in school and give them better educational opportunities. So I credit the officers for that. Again, Officer Say, Munoz, Commander Munoz and Vasquez for doing that. Also, this year I did spend it's kind of a half a day, but it was late morning to middle afternoon at Adams City High School, making presentations about the role of the courts in a variety of classrooms. Their social services department was very receptive, and I bounced from classroom to classroom to classroom, and Officer Ortega helped coordinate that for me. That's it in terms of the youth front. There is a pending legislation that will increase court fines from $1,000, which is our current maximum, up to $5,000. It would only come into effect if the City Council elected to do that. I can indicate to you that I'm opposed to it. I think a $1,000 fine is a good limit for a municipal court. $5,000 is the fine limit for a county court for a state law violation. I don't know that there's going to be any benefit for us. I mean, you know, if we were Vail maybe, or Aspen maybe, where people could just write a check to get their, themselves out of trouble, that would be different. But our community isn't in that type of a financial league. You know, just like I was telling the judge in Broomfield, his $350 fine is my $80 fine. You know, people just don't have that kind of financial resource in this community. I don't think raising our fine limit to $5,000 would be of any benefit to this community. Wouldn't help the court either. Also, they were talking about increasing sentencing alternatives available to the court. There isn't anything in that ordinance that I would be supportive of. I don't think it would help our community. Ms. Rim Cordero was my contact person in terms of the pending legislation. You know, again, whoever the City Council decides is the person that I need to work through. I'll coordinate that with Brian's office, and you know, I don't speak on behalf of the city. I give whoever our lobbyist is the position of the court. He gets his direction, or he or she will get his direction from the City Council and the City Manager. But certainly, if it's legislation that I believe is going to affect the operation of the court, I'll provide that information to whoever the lobbyist is, or to Brian in his office, and continue to do that. Ms. and I worked really well together. He kept me informed, I kept him informed. The biggest issue that we've spent a lot of time with, including today, I spent time with Chief Judge Phelps in Adams County, is the jail issues. The sheriff keeps talking about how they're losing a lot of money and he's having problem replacing people, so he's closing pods. His first alternative was to quit taking municipal offenders in his jail. A bunch of committees have been created. We've overcome that what I call knee-jerk reaction on his part. We've developed, amongst all of the municipal judges, a protocol for early release of municipal offenders in the event the population of municipal offenders grows too large and they need to release some in order to maintain safe prisoner levels in the jail for the staff there. We've come up with a criteria for setting bonds. I can tell you that the bonds that are set by the Commerce City Court are all lower than the agreed-upon bond schedule that is currently working its way through the various committees. We have a committee called CJCC, which is dealing with all of these issues. The sheriff is basically trying to get the county commissioners to just give him more money so he can hire more people, so he can keep pods open, so that he can increase the number of municipal offenders in the jail. Our soft cap is at 4. That is inadequate. They asked me what I thought an adequate number was. I said 9. Our average daily population runs between 7.2, I think was what it was for 2012. 4 is not enough. It's just very difficult for me to do my job if I have to be watching my space limit. The City Council granted me the authorization to just keep doing what I've been doing, and if there were any costs associated, we could do that. But still, we're cognizant about the total number of municipal offenders in the jail, so all of the municipal judges, we keep in really good contact, we communicate. I review the daily jail log every single day to see whose prisoners are in there, how many there are, and then obviously hours, which ones of hours I need to be keeping an eye on. Because there are people that are in there that shouldn't be in there for very long, and I only review prisoners once a week. So the protocols are in place. We're addressing the issue. Like I said, there's like 5 committees that sprang out of this, and all of us are working together to try to eliminate the problem of jail overcrowding in Adams County. And it's really not overcrowding. It's that there isn't enough money, according to the sheriff, in his budget to man all of the wings of the jail that they need to be able to maintain the population that has been maintained in the past. It's a monies issue. It's really that simple. Let's see. Again, my division clerk is Lynn DiGiacomo. She's the one that puts together all of the stats that you see. She works really closely with the police department. She basically runs the court. I'm here 2 days a week. She runs the court. Susan Martinez is the most senior clerk. She's probably got the sweetest personality of anybody in my staff. Carmen Sanchez, very efficient. Beverly Went, very efficient. Carol Espinosa's new. We stole her from the Brighton court. She's fit in really, really well. She's been here for a little over a year. Everything in terms of my staff is going really well. We're constantly looking to improve, adding new programs, trying to address the issues that come in front of us. All I can tell you is that if you've never sat through a day of court, first let me just suggest, Wednesdays tend to be traffic days. If you see me do one traffic ticket, you've seen me do about 4,000. I try not to deviate. If you want to see a variety, Thursdays. Our calendars are color-coded. Pink Thursdays are the day we deal with ordinance violations and usually some bond-related issues. The more violent crimes happen on that day. And then just people doing weird things. It just happens. Looking forward to having a good working relationship with the new chief, and that's pretty much my state of the court address.
Okay, I have a couple council members up here that their lights are on. Mr. Bullock?
On the very number 7, address the security issues, there aren't any security issues to address, so I hope, please.
Yeah, we had been having a revolving door of people providing the security service. Now, he's fine, but he went off on his military duty, and so we had other people, and it got to the point where we were seeing a new face every week. And the nature of the job that we have our bailiff doing, you need some consistency, and because we asked him to do more than just screen people through the door. Right. And so it was a problem, but the contractor was made aware of the problem. Commander Sibley made them very aware of my lack of happiness about the problem, and so far we've I wouldn't say that it's gone, because we don't know how long before he gets reassigned, but they're aware of the problem and they've made efforts to address it. The transportation, we now have had a consistent person providing our transportation of prisoners pretty much for about the past 3 months. So long as they maintain consistent personnel, both the transporter and Nick are fine. We're doing great.
So you just want that consistency so the people become familiar with Commerce City and how it works with you, and they can spot something really quick and know when something isn't right in the room.
Yes, and I'll be blunt, Councilman. We had a security guy who let an in-custody felon hug on his girlfriend right outside that door, and she was in the audience. Basic Security 101 is no felon has personal contact with a member of the public in a courtroom. It's too easy. It's dangerous for us. It's dangerous for the transport officer. It's dangerous for everybody. When I saw that happen, I immediately called the police and said, somebody needs to get this straightened out. And they did. They did what they needed to do. Yes, it was a bigger issue earlier in the year. It hasn't been a problem lately.
Thank you.
Okay, Councilwoman Carson.
Judge, thank you for coming. I think you always give us a very honest and clear description of what's going on, and I appreciate that. And I want to thank you, too, for talking about the teen court. I had attended a full-day class down at CML, and the youth from all over the state did a half-day presentation into teen court. And I was so impressed with that, and I knew we had a teen court here. So I did want you to bring that up a little so that our citizens do know that our students are actively participating in this, not just as offenders either. 2 of our newest commissioners, my understanding, sat on your teen court. So thank you for providing that program in the city. I think it's a wonderful program. And then I can't remember the year, but I think the DARE program has been gone for a pretty lengthy time. Do you believe that there's any type of a program we should be looking at again when you're talking about this increase of marijuana use and the low participation? Is there...
To be honest with you, I actually think it's a response to the media more than anything else. When I was in the high school, kids were all happy that the legalization of marijuana passed, and I explained to them, it doesn't affect you at all. I mean, it's for people over 21. It's like alcohol. This law has no effect on you, and they seemed to feel that there was a certain level of acceptance that would include them in it. I just think it was a misunderstanding because of all of the media information about marijuana that was out there that all of a sudden became more prevalent. I have a feeling, I think it's dying down now a little bit. The numbers reflected the number of possession charges is dropping a little bit. I don't know. If there are other programs out there, I'd really like to see schools involved in providing that, because I don't want to wait till they have to come in front of me to provide it. By then, the problem's already there.
Well, I'm trying to jog my memory, and Mr. Bullock, maybe you can help me, because there was a presentation that was put in front of our Youth Commission, and what is there's a celebration date where I guess all the marijuana smokers come out. Well,
April 20th.
Yes, so the youth have now put together an anti-campaign where they're spending that entire day with an anti-campaign speaking to their youth. So maybe that will grow and be more successful.
Yeah, I really think, I remember at the University of Colorado, they had the Made Quadrant, they had a huge turnout for that smoke-in day. And again, even with the legalization of marijuana in Colorado, if the police wanted to, could make a huge number of arrests there, because most of the college kids are under 21 out there, and they don't understand that this law does not help them, not one bit.
I would like to see the youth, their voice get much stronger, because one thing we do know, they listen to each other much better than they listen to us. So.
Absolutely.
But thank you for all the work you do. You do a great job for this city, so thank you.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Mr. Douglas.
Thank you, Judge, for your annual report. And also thank you for your point of view on the daytime curfew. I know we were mulling that around, and, we still have some concerns and how will that work for the youth here in Commerce City, and we do need something here as far as helping guide these kids so they can graduate and focus on what the intent was to go to school, not to try to get out of school. So I appreciate your point of view on that.
Thank you.
And thank you for serving as well.
Judge, I guess I'm last. Just mainly want to thank you for the efforts over the last few years. I also wanted to update you that I know it's been several years since you've received an evaluation. We are now in the process of putting the evaluation packets together. You'll be receiving one soon, and we're going to start having those annual evaluations from the council to the city manager, yourself, and to the city attorney. So I think that always helps, not just to evaluate how you're doing, but it helps through that evaluation process to have more of that continuity between the council and the judge and the attorney and the city manager to understand what the goals and objectives are and where we're at and how we're doing on those. So watch for that to be coming shortly. I'm using it as a tool to help you all as well as to help this council. So thank you for coming in and giving us the update.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. McBroom?
If I could just make a brief comment. The judge was really quite understated and humble in his comments about his involvement in the Adams County Jail issue. The judge has been a terrific advocate not only for Commerce City and our view of that issue, but really to make sure the dialogue is at the appropriate level. As you may have read or heard, sometimes over the past year, the debate over the jail has slid off really the core issues of trying to have an appropriate criminal justice system, and I appreciate very much the judge's efforts to advocate on behalf of Commerce City, but in a broader sense, advocate for an appropriate dialogue to get the problem resolved. So thank you.
Great, thank you.
Good night. Thank you.
Next, we're going to talk about a study session issue coming up on March 11th. Mr. McBroom, you want to take that?
A majority of council members are currently signed up to attend the National League of Cities Conference that occurs during the first part of the week of March 11th. Although study sessions are not considered regular meetings, we thought it appropriate that if the City Council intends to not have the study session, that you go ahead and make that official by taking an action this evening to cancel the March 11th study session.
Thank you. What would the council like to do concerning the study session on March 11th? Mr. Bullock.
This might be, I don't know if we did it and I forgot or not, but February 18th is President's Day. Did we cancel the city council meeting for President's Day? Because in the retreat, when we were talking about meetings we were going to miss on Monday, that was one of the ones that we were talking about we were going to have 5 Mondays. That's one we will not have in there. So that whole thing about the Mondays we were going to have to do this has been changed somewhat because we're missing that Monday also. But I just wanted to see if it slipped my mind or if it was just an oversight. But I want to make sure that we know as a council that we are going to be missing 2 Mondays, that's study session and President's Day. But as like to make a motion to cancel the study session on March 11th.
Thank you. Mr. Teeter.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second to cancel the March study session, March 11th, due to the fact that the majority of the council will be in Washington, D.C. for legislative issues. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. The motion is carried. Now we need to talk about Playful Cities USA nomination support letter. Staff want to start that discussion?
Good evening, mayors and members of council. Every year, the city applies for the Playful City USA Award. So this year, the nomination award packet requires a letter of support signed on behalf of the mayor. So that's what you have in front of you this evening.
Okay. What does the council want to do with that letter? Mr. McEldowney?
I would move the council approve the letter for signature by the mayor.
Okay. Mr. Amador?
I second that motion.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve the signature of the letter for Playful Cities USA. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion is carried. Now we're going to go into naming a replacement for the former council member Moreno's various boards and commissions and committees that he served on. I'm glad he's here this evening so he gets to see how this goes. What we have is, you see here, we have vacancies now for council participation on the Derby Review Board, the Liquor Authority, Housing Authority, Adams 14 Foundation, Northern Community Coalition, 10-year plan to end homelessness, Adams County Cultural Council, Memorial Day Advisory, and the Rotary Club International.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Before the council commences discussion on this, I have a few remarks that I think are relevant for the council.
Okay.
As you know, Councilman Steve Douglas and I have been discussing the Housing Authority situation. And in speaking with Steve, he feels he can better serve Commerce City by resigning as the alternate member of the Housing Authority and not pursuing appointment as a regular member of the Housing Authority. However, he does request that he be appointed as the council member to the Memorial Day Parade Committee and to the Committee for the 10-year plan to end homelessness initiated by former District Attorney Don Quick.
Okay.
In that regard, and I'll just say this also, because there were some concerns expressed by Councilman Douglas, and he felt that they should be pursued. So in talking with the mayor, the plan would be for the mayor and myself to speak with the chair of the Housing Authority regarding Housing Authority issues and to authorize training through SRSA in order to communicate to Housing Authority members the parameters for assuring their actions are always conducted within the scope of their employment and their appointment. I mention this because it becomes relevant when you decide upon the appointments, because from Councilman Douglas's point of view, he wants you to consider his requests in regards to your appointments. And I'll ask Mr. Douglas if I've accurately stated what our discussions have been.
Yes, you have, Bob.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you. Now, the way I think the best plan to take this up is I'm going to go through them one by one. What I would like you all to keep in mind that Mr. Amador is not currently serving as a council person on any of these. He just got appointed tonight. And Mr. Douglas, I don't believe you're a regular member of any board or commission at this point in time. Is that correct? Okay. Keep that in mind moving forward when we do our nominations so that we can try to make sure that these boards and commissions are spread out so that all members of the council are being able to participate. Let's start with Derby Review Board. Is there an interest by council members to serve as the council member to the Derby Review Board? Anyone? Mr. Teeter, would you like to serve on that board? Is there anyone else who would like to serve on the Derby Review Board before the council makes a decision on appointment? Seeing no one else, if the should we have a vote on each one of them, Bob? Sure.
Let's, I would say, go through them and
Okay.
then see if we have consensus.
Perfect.
And then one motion would take care of all of
All
them.
right, you want to keep track of these as I'm moving along so that I don't get them mixed up. Rick Teeter has an interest of the Derby Review Board. Next would be the Liquor Authority. And that would be for an alternate position. Is there a member of the council that would like to serve as the alternate on the Liquor Authority? Daytime.
I'll do that. I'll be the alternate because I have my days free, and I don't want to put a hardship on anybody that have to leave a job or anything in case they would have to fill in for Rick. I'm close by.
Rick, you're the regular member? Is there anyone else who has an interest in serving as the alternate on the Liquor Authority? Okay, let's move on. Next, we have a regular position on the Housing Authority and an alternate position on the Housing Authority. So there are two vacancies, and we need to fill both of those.
I would like to be the regular, if it's okay.
Renee has an interest in the regular.
I really don't.
Anyone else have an interest in being the regular member of the Housing Authority? And Mr. Amador, please don't pass all of them up. We want to make sure that you get your share of these duties that we all have to take care of.
Mr. Mayor, I would be interested in an alternate as opposed to
regular member.
Regular.
Okay. So we have Mr. Amador as an alternate. All right. And now we, let's see here, Adams 14 Foundation Northern Community Coalition.
Those are two separate.
They're two separate
Okay,
ones.
Adams 14 Foundation.
I'd like to do that.
Okay, Renee has an interest. Anyone else have an interest?
I would also like to take an interest in the Adams 14 Foundation.
Okay, Andrew has an interest as well. Anyone else? Okay, let's move on. Bob, you're keeping track of this, right?
I am.
All right. Now we'll deal with the Northern Community Coalition. Is there an interest to serve on the Northern Community Coalition by the council members? How often do they meet, Bob?
They meet as needed.
As needed.
And they will be getting a letter, email pretty soon. They're trying to plan a meeting within the next month or so. And it's just an update. Basically, they talk about arsenal issues, and that's it. And Ken Conright told me that he'll be sending out something to see if, just give an update.
Anyone on the council have an interest? Mr. Teeter has an interest.
Mr. Mayor.
Anyone else?
Not an interest in serving, just noting that Mr. Bullock and Mr. Teeter are already the second and third on that. Would it make sense to move one of them into the primary and secondary? I don't know that does it really require a third level alternate on this?
It shows two regular, Marino and Moore.
Am I reading it wrong?
Here is the alternate, so yeah, I would say Peter should move into the regular.
Okay, so Rick has an interest in moving into the regular position. Now we have an alternate position for the Northern Community Coalition. Is there an interest for the alternate?
JD.
JD, you have an interest? Okay, JD. Anyone else have an interest in that alternate position?
Myself included.
Crystal?
Yes.
Okay. Anyone else? We're moving on. Now we have the 10-year plan to end homelessness, and we know that Mr. Douglas has an interest in serving on that. Is there anyone else that has an interest? Okay. Next, we have Adams County Cultural Council. Is there an interest for the representative? Yes, sir?
Marino just advised the city manager and myself that the city does not appoint a
Adams
member
County
to
Cultural?
serve on that, so that
Okay.
we should just disregard.
Let's scratch off that one. That's one less that we have to take care of. Then we have the Memorial Day Advisory, and we know that Steve also has an interest in that. Is there anyone else? Crystal?
You're already on it, Crystal.
Right, but I served 2 years though, so I can stay on. Is that right?
Well, yeah, because when we do our reappointments after the election in November, that's when a lot of the terms expire because they're tied into our terms on council, so you're fine.
So are there two then on that?
2 seats, yep.
Okay.
So is there any other interest? Moving on. We have the Rotary Club International. Council allows 2 members. I am one member, I am a current member. Dominic was another member, so we have 1 vacancy. Rick has an interest? Renee has an interest?
Yes, because the mayor told me already that I'm going to be going with him. So my interest was drafted.
Okay, Renee. Is there anyone else who has an interest participating in the Rotary? Now, the Rotary is every Wednesday at noon. So it's pretty taxing as far as regular meetings. So I think that covers all of them.
Who is that for Rotary then?
Renee.
Just Renee.
Just Renee. So now we'll go through them, and the ones that we'll go through and make those appointments. I know some of them only have 1 person interested, some have more than 1 interested. Let's start, Bob, with the Derby Review Board. There's only 1 interested party?
Right.
And who is that?
That was Rick Teeter.
Right. Can I get a motion to appoint Rick Teeter to the Derby Review Board? Mr. Bullock.
Move to appoint Rick Teeter to the Derby Review Board.
Okay. Mr. Benson?
Second that motion.
I have a motion and a second to appoint Rick Teeter to the Derby Review Board. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion's carried. Next is the Liquor Authority. Bob, who is the...
On the alternate liquor license? That's
Liquor
Renee.
Authority alternate. Renee?
Renee on the liquor.
Okay, can I have a motion for the appointment to the Liquor Authority? Councilman Carson,
Motion to approve Mr. Bullock to Liquor Authority
as the alternate.
as the alternate.
Perfect. Mr. McEldowney.
Second.
A motion and a second to appoint Mayor Pro Tem Bullock to the alternate position of the Liquor Authority. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion is carried. Next, we have the Housing Authority. And who had the interest in the Housing Authority?
Renee.
Renee.
And
Mr. Amador.
Mr. Amador's.
And
As
Mr.
an
Amador.
alternate. As alternate.
As alternate. Okay, so let's take care of we can take care of both of those at one
Right.
time.
Yeah. The only thing with the alternate, before you take up alternate, Councilman Douglas needs to resign
Okay.
as alternate first. So let's just vote on the appointee
All right.
regular member first.
All right, so we have, I need a motion to put Renee on the Housing Authority. Mr. Teeter?
So moved.
Mr. McEldowney?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to make Mayor Pro Tem Bullock the Housing Authority Board member. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Now, you can't oppose it, Renee, you're the member, you like it or not. Now, Mr. Douglas, would you like to resign from the alternate position of the Housing Authority?
Yes, I'd like to resign as the alternate on this Housing Authority if approval of the council.
Okay?
Well, let's have a vote on accepting
Okay.
that
I
resignation.
need a motion to accept the resignation. Mr. Teeter.
I'd like to make a motion to accept Steve Douglas's recommendations to be removed from the Housing Authority.
Okay, Mr. McEldowney?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to accept the resignation of Mr. Douglas on the, as the alternate of the Housing Authority. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. That motion is carried. Now, we need a motion to put Mr. Amador on the Housing Authority as the alternate. Mr. Teeter?
I move to select Amador as the member for the new Housing Authority.
As the alternate.
As the alternate, I'm sorry.
Okay, Mr. McEldowney?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. The motion is carried. Next, we have the Adams 14 Foundation. And as Mr. Bullock wanted to serve on that, and Mr. Amador.
Right.
So the council needs to
I'm going to
determine.
be the alternate because that's the same night as my meetings for the Friends Group and the meetings for the Youth Commission. So I will be his alternate, but I would make a motion for Mr. Amador to be the regular.
Okay, I have a motion. Is there a second? Mr. McEldowney.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to make Mr. Amador the representative, regular representative for the Adams 14 Foundation. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Did you want to include Mr. Bullock as the
We're going
alternate?
to take care of
with
that right
motion?
now.
Okay,
Because he made the motion, and I didn't want him to be
Oh,
part of
yeah.
the motion to
got it.
do himself. All right. I need a motion to make Mr. Bullock the alternate to that board. Mr. McEldowney.
So moved.
Mr. Teeter.
Second.
A motion is second to make that change. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. That motion is carried. Next, we have the Northern Community Coalition.
It's Rick Teeter.
And one interested party, which is Mr. Rick Teeter. Mr. McEldowney?
Would move to add Mr. Teeter as our regular to that body.
Okay. Councilwoman Carson. I have a motion and a second to make Mr. Teeter the regular member of the Northern Community Coalition. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion is carried. Now we have the 10-year plan to end
Wait a
homelessness.
minute,
You
wait a
have
minute.
two alternates.
She had
Oh,
two
now we have two
alternates on
alternates.
that, too.
Alternate to the
Yeah,
Northern Community.
I was going to do that.
That's J.D. and Crystal.
You want to make a motion there, Mr. Bullock?
Yes. Make a motion for the two alternates of Ms. Carson and Ms. Elliott as the two alternates on the Northern Community Coalition.
Thank you. Mr. McEldowney.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to make the two alternate positions. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion is carried. You guys have to keep me straight up here because I'm moving through them. Now we have the 10-year plan to end homelessness. But I think the interested party is Mr. Douglas. Can I get a motion? Mr. McEldowney?
Move to appoint Mr. Douglas as the council representative to the 10-year plan to end homelessness.
Thank you. Mr. Bullock?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion is carried. Now we have the Memorial Day Advisory, and that also was, an interested party was Mr. Douglas. Can I get a motion? Mr. Bullock.
Move to appoint Mr. Douglas to the Memorial Day Advisory Committee.
Mr. Teeter.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to appoint Mr. Douglas to the Memorial Day Advisory Committee. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion is carried. Now we have the Rotary Club International. I believe that was
Renee.
Mr. Bullock.
Right.
Can I get a motion in that regard? Mr. McEldowney.
Move to appoint Mr. Bullock as the council representative to the Rotary Club.
Thank you. Mr. Teeter.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to allow Mr. Bullock to participate in Rotary International. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion is carried. And I believe that concludes
On that.
our boards and commission appointments for this evening.
Right. I have one other item not related to boards and commissions.
All right, then we're going to move through into the next part of the agenda, which is administrative council business.
Okay.
Mr. Gaylor.
If I may, Mr.
You may.
Mayor, this has to do with calling an executive session for February 11th. And to save a special call for the meeting, it would be advisable or recommended to the council then that you make a motion this evening to call a special meeting to convene at 5:30 PM, February 11, 2013, for an executive session pursuant to CRS 24-64024E for the purpose of determining positions relative to matters that may be subject to negotiations and developing strategy for negotiations concerning DIA issues.
Okay. Mr. McEldowney?
I would move to approve the executive session for said purposes.
February 11th.
February 11th?
Next week.
March 11th.
Okay. Mr. Douglas?
This is May 11th,
May
February
11th.
11th.
What, February 11th, right?
Right.
All right.
The motion should be to call the special meeting.
Okay.
I will,
Motion maker?
I'll revise my motion.
Right, but he just said the executive session.
I'll revise my motion. Would move to authorize a special meeting with an executive session convening at 5:30 for the purposes of discussing DIA or discussing negotiation under CRS, as stated by the attorney.
Concerning DIA issues.
For February 11th.
For February
Is
11th.
that okay with the second?
Yes. Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion is carried. We will start early on the 11th. Is there any other administrative council business to come before the council this evening? Mr. McEldowney.
I didn't get a chance to talk to council members following the retreat, but a number of us attended following our joint meeting with 27J and the City of Brighton last week, a presentation hosted by District 27J regarding the Year of the Student, 2013 Year of the Student. For folks that pay attention to the news at all, you're probably familiar with the fact that Colorado sits in the bottom tier of education funding. Unfortunately, for us, District 27J not only sits in the same position as the state of Colorado, but actually in the lower end of that list of funding. So it's a matter that's particularly of concern to us in Commerce City and our partners in Brighton and Thornton and unincorporated Adams County. Just to put it in perspective, and I'll probably get the number wrong off the top of my head, but I believe we sit at 156th out of 155 out of 160. Roughly, we're 6 from the bottom of the list in the state in terms of funding. There are a number of factors that can combine to create that. District 27J is the 15th largest school district in the state at present. It is one of the top 3 or 4 in terms of growth. So projection-wise, it will be the biggest, if not one of the biggest districts in the state. The district has had an incredible challenge getting the voting community to rally behind prior mill levy initiatives, and part of that's due to the fact that we have some pretty complex tax positions in the northern range of our city in particular, but that obviously plays a role in it. But at the heart of the matter that we heard last week is that the state's funding mechanism for education is simply broken. I know folks carry a number of different positions in terms of whether or not we advocate for a tax increase, whether we advocate for formula changes, but essentially what's been happening for the last 4 years is that education from the state has been underfunded by just dramatic measures. That began in the first year with simply giving money to the districts, taking the money back, and the districts being left to figure out what to do with the difference. In the last 3 years, we've actually had something called the negative factor, where there's the amount stated that by the Colorado School Finance Act, schools are to receive from the state. And that is based on a formula, and it's based on a cost of living increase that says we should increase the funding by X. If you look at that chart, you'll see this big gray piece in the top of each bar in that bar chart that shows how much under that amount we should be funding our students, and so what they're actually getting. And so right now, I want to say that we are at a funding level that's equivalent to about 2005, 2006. And I think everybody's aware of the cost of everything that's gone up, including providing the services through our schools. Long story short, if you haven't looked into it, please go out and look at Year of the Student. You can Google it. The goal of this, and it's been a long-standing program, is to really come to a head this year and put the charge down for our representatives at the State House to say, look, you cannot exit the session this year unless there is a plan, a long-term plan to fix how we fund education. Whether you have kids in school or not, this is a matter that is of great importance to you as a citizen of the state, particularly a citizen of our community. If we don't fix education funding, if we don't demonstrate as a state and as a community that education is a priority, we can want all we want in terms of economic development. People are not going to locate in communities where education is not a priority. They will locate where people make education a priority. We want to see great things in this community. We have phenomenal potential, but if we fail to demonstrate our commitment to education and creating a workforce that is worthy of competition on a global stage, it's not going to happen. And I think that's the last point I'll make, is simply we are the bottom of the list in terms of funding within the U.S. We are at the bottom of funding in terms of the state. How are we to have our children compete in a global marketplace? It's no longer an environment where you're competing against kids in your own neighborhood, in your own city, in your own state. It is a global playing field. Every day I work with people all over the globe. I don't know how we're going to have kids compete in that vein if we're not providing the basics for them. So regardless of what you think about any other factor with school, we're not putting enough into it, and we need to figure out how to get that fixed. So I would ask for the community support. I would also ask council support in supporting the year of the student, and I would formally move that our council provide a resolution of support for the year of the student and become a, forget the term that they're using, but it's essentially a sponsor entity to basically say, look, you got to fix it. That does not mean that we are specifically advocating for a tax increase. It does not mean that we are advocating for any specific solution, but that our representatives at the State House put together a plan that will help fix this problem.
Mr. McEldowney, I have already forwarded a draft proclamation to the Secretary and the administrative offices, and would expect that this council will have a proclamation in front of them to consider to support the Year of the Student, which is exactly what that program the other night, they asked that if we had an interest in helping, that we look at a proclamation. So that will be forthcoming.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Carson.
I'll be short, but Mr. McEldowney, you did a very good job of getting that information out there, so thank you. That presentation really did open a lot of eyes. I would like to see if we could maybe somehow offer that presentation here some way so that citizens could see it again. I think any time, the more we can show that, the better it is. Because I do think that most people who live in our state do not have the understanding of the funding to education and what Gallagher and all of this means to education and what it really looks like. I know I hear people all the time thinking, well, the state can backfill. There is no backfill. They don't even get funded what they're supposed to get funded. And it really is it's a dire need. And I'm not trying to advocate, as Mr. McEldowney said, that for tax increases or anything, but you really do need to think about what this looks like when you have your employees of a school district who we turn our children over to and leave them with that great responsibility, and they don't have pay raises for 4 or 5 years, and I think it's 4 years now. People tend to leave those jobs, and then what do you get? You get this revolving thing. Well, I don't think that is what parents want with their children. Most people who hire on at school districts, you want them to stick around and retire from the school district, and you get to know them. We turn our children over to them every day. So it is time that the Colorado public started paying attention to what is happening to education in this state, because we are embarrassingly low with the funding of what we put into our children. So thank you, Mr. McEldowney, for bringing that up.
If the council is amenable, tomorrow I'm having a meeting with Superintendent from School District 14, Mr. Sanchez, and Mr. McBroom will be in attendance. Mr. McBroom can make sure that it comes up, that we talk about the potential to see if we can put that program that we all had the opportunity to listen to at District 14 or District 27J on the Channel 8. And we can see if there's a partnership to allow that to happen. I'm not guaranteeing anything at this time, but if this council is amenable, I'll bring that discussion up and see if we can't try to make something happen if you want that to happen.
Thank you. If I could just add one final comment on the topic. The website, again, was the 2013 Year of the Student, I believe. Google it, you'll find it. There's an ability to sign the petition to voice your support. The day after we met and received the presentation, there was actually a significant presence of school kids literally delivering petitions to representatives literally on the floor, tracking them down in the halls, not unlike our effort on our trip to D.C. each year to track down our leaders and provide them with updates on our priorities. And this was obviously exceptional to see the kids providing those signed petitions and their personal testimonials to the need to their elected officials. So get out, sign that petition, and again, if there's interest in having that presentation made, I know she seemed very eager to provide it at any spot that we might have availability or interest. So again, thanks, guys.
Thank you. Mr. Douglas.
Yeah, I got a couple of things. Thanks, Jason, for stating that. And I noticed I look on my tax bill, and for those who pay into the 27J district, it should be 145 mills. It's only 45, so that right there you can tell how short we are at 100 mills that we should be paying into that school district. Brian, I had a question for you as far as our water liaison. I know when Tom was here, he was liaison for the South Adams. Who's the person appointed to, as far as the city?
Mr. Hayes has been brushing up on water issues and is our point person on water issues, both with acquiring water rights and as a staff liaison to the water district.
Okay. I've been having a lot of citizens contact me about the oxygen level in the water. If you could look into that, I appreciate that. Just get a better understanding of where those levels are at or how the testing's going.
Mr. Douglas, are you referring to drinking water?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
I didn't catch that. What did he say? Test for what? Dioxin.
1,4-dioxin. It's a new regulation by the federal government requiring lower standards in municipal drinking water, and I don't know if the district has tested yet for that. I know they're getting the testing equipment on board. Myself and Councilwoman Elliott are the two water commissioners as part of that water commission that we have. And so I know that is forthcoming, and those regulations are going into effect, but I believe they have some time to mitigate if necessary. So we can have Jim look into that and let you know what the testing time frame is. But the 1,4-dioxin is the one item that I know the federal government's changing the standard on what that can be. Hopefully
Thanks,
that
sir.
helps.
Yes.
Any other council business? Seeing none, we'll go into reports. Mr. Attorney.
The only report I have is that I will be on vacation, so I won't be with you for the next couple weeks, and I'll be in Mexico, but I will be spending my time in Mexico thinking about your council meetings.
You know, actually, you don't have to do that. Now we have the capabilities to do Skype, so we can Skype you in if you would really like to be here. Otherwise, have a great time.
Yes.
Mr. McBroom.
No report other than to call your attention to the city manager update that we sent to you just prior to this evening's meeting.
Yep, already got it. Thank you. I'll be brief with my report. I have been attending a lot of airport coordinating and consultation working group meetings to prepare for the meeting coming up on the 13th. I'll be meeting again this week to go over some more working information with the commissioner and the mayor of Aurora so that we're ready and prepared to have our meeting with the three members from Denver on the 13th. And we have that executive session, and I will give the council a full brief on the goings-on.
Can I just comment on that?
Yes, sir.
Just in regard to our involvement, obviously, in the DIA matter and the comments from Mr. Davis earlier this evening, I've noted some exchanges within the community, folks circulating Denver's plan. The mayor of Denver has a specific webpage that highlights a couple of key development efforts, and obviously we have an exceptional plan for our interests in the airport area. I was wondering if we might think about taking our work product and putting it out there so that our citizens can be refreshed in terms of what work has gone on in terms of our comp plan and our ED strategic plan. I think it provides a great picture of the work that we've put in under the auspice of the IGA as it stood, just to, again, give our citizens some additional background should they find themselves in discussions and, the articles that we've seen earlier. So,
Well, and just for your information, one of the things I was able to accomplish as part of the Airport Coordinating Committee was to get all the jurisdictions to bring all of their land use planning together and to do an overlay. So not only will you see the intentions of Denver with the Airport Cities Plan, but you'll also see the intentions of all of the neighboring communities as what their land use plans outside the fence are, which gives us a whole lot better perspective on the overall regional approach. So we can make those maps available to you, Mr. McEldowney.
Thank you, sir.
Okay? Next, AdCog dinner. I have to tell you, it was in Westminster. I thought that the presentation was great. Many of the council members were there. Their presentation was on their station plan for light rail, which we are currently now having to fast track and do our station planning because of the time frame that RTD was able to move our station up from about 15, 20 years out to 5 to 7 years out. So that was very helpful, and the designs of their station are just phenomenal, and if we get anything near that, the improvements and what it's going to do for that area are significant. The other piece that they presented on was the redevelopment of the Westminster Mall property, which is not much different than the redevelopment of our dog track property, from the sense that both are purchased properties from the cities that are prospective to those properties or within those communities, and they're both urban renewal properties. And to see the efforts that they're making are not much different than the efforts we're making to provide substantial services and needs for our community with that dog track property. So both were very helpful, and I'm glad that several members of the council were there to participate. Several of us attended the opening of the new Water Department office there on 70th Avenue. If you haven't got a chance to go by and take a look and have a tour, very nice building. Myself and Mr. Bullock and I believe Mr. Douglas attended the State of the City's Mayor's Economic Forecast downtown last week, and the speakers were Kim Day from DIA, Mayor Hancock, and Mayor Hogan from Aurora. So the economic forecast from the economists that were there is that it's on the rise, things are starting to look better, and I have a very bright perspective for what is in store for Commerce City in the next couple of years. Been attending Rotary, and this Wednesday is the family of Rotary, and instead of having a daytime meeting, Mr. Bullock, it will be an evening meeting at the Worth Manor, and you're welcome to bring your wife along.
Okay.
Okay, this Wednesday.
Or any wife.
Or someone else's wife, I don't
Okay.
care. But you're able to bring a guest.
Yeah, there's a lot of Mrs. Bullock.
That's right. Myself and Mayor Pro Tem Bullock also attended Mayor's Day at Buckley Air Force Base on Friday during the morning hours, and we were given a tour of inside of those golf balls that everybody sees out there at Buckley. We went out on the flight line, got to observe some of the F-16s, talk to one of the pilots, and get to see them take off at very close proximity. Talked about Buckley being one of the bases that are allowed or would be allowed to partner with communities for services that they need, that they currently don't have, that can be off-site, things that they can provide for the communities that are surrounding them. So I look forward to some more dialogue with Buckley Air Force Base. Also this Friday in the afternoon, we started our planning retreat. That carried through all day Saturday and ended Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening. And I have to tell the council that I'm very impressed with the dialogue that took place and the fact that everyone was focused on the positive opportunities that are facing our community. It was very productive. Staff did a great job of putting the information together, and I think that it's going to set some good goals for our staff moving forward for the year, and they know exactly what's expected of them and what we expect to see for movement within the community moving forward on major plans. We also took up the QCI's recommendations for revenue generation and development of major projects that I think all of our residents would like to see. Some of them including, but not limited to, widening improvements of Tower Road, widening of Rosemary and 88th Avenue, grade separation crossings at 88th Avenue and the UP tracks, improvements to our rec center, the opportunity for development of a Northern Range Rec Center, just to highlight a few. But I know our staff is putting together the results of that planning retreat, and will be able to make that public for to see the direction that the council's trying to move this community in. So, yeah, and we held that retreat local at our municipal service building, so that there were no out-of-town expenses. And I would like to say that both applicants for the appointment for the position that Mr. Amador was voted into this evening, Mr. Leffel and Mr. Amador were both present for that retreat, and they got to participate in a few different pieces of it. But I'm glad that they were there and that they have the interest in the community. And it's always nice to have Gene here, so I want to see him continue to come to the council meetings and pursue his interests in helping this community as well. If there be no further business, Mr. Mapadona, your lights on? Mr. Douglas, your lights on? Anything else? Okay. If there be no further business to come before the council of the City of Commerce City this evening, we are adjourned.
Oh, did you talk to Brian today?
Yeah, a little bit.
It was great. It was absolutely great. I mean, and have you called up his people?
I called him and left him a message. He called me. Some of them including, but not limited